rid of that little thing. There we go. All right. So who is this guy? This bald dude, the lone testosterone representer of this entire call, which is great. Awesome. So who is this guy, and why am I here, and what are we trying to accomplish? And I guess sometimes what helps me when I get a chance, when I listen to somebody who's speaking to me, is it's nice to know a little bit of the backstory. Okay. I won't go, if you guys ever listen to the wake up calls, I love the backstory. I just think sometimes I'm like, dude, I get that you're telling me the whole story. Let's get to the meat. Come on. So I'm going to keep it brief, a little bit, but I just want to give you a little bit of my backstory so you can kind of get it. So crazy thing, back in the day, in terms of finding my whole fitness journey, I found it through the fact that my dad had passed away from complications due to type 2 diabetes. We looked a lot alike. We both were follically challenged. He was as well. But he also struggled with diabetes for about 35 years. And he had passed away, and I knew that my genetics were taking me down that road as well, because my grandfather as well had passed away, same kind of complications. And so I knew I had to sort of make a change. Funny thing is that an Advocare guy recommended me P90X, which is kind of funny. So this Advocare guy, I hear do this Advocare stuff, I do this P90X. And then I finally figured, I'm like, well, why would I do that and then do this? That just seems, why don't we put it all together? And that's why I ended up being a Beachbody coach. And I started as a discount coach right in the beginning. And I said, hey, I want to save some money. And very quickly, and I just said, I knew I couldn't afford it. So I'm like, okay, God, you got to find me some people to help here. And literally within the first 2 weeks, I got my Shakeology paid for. So I was like, sweet, this sounds great. I can stay healthy, have extra accountability, and, maybe, help a few people along the way, which is really pretty cool. And then it just started to kind of develop. And at that point, I was a pastor of music. I've been a musician for about 30 years now. And for a lot of that, for a good 16 of that, the last 16 have been as a pastor of music at different churches. And so in that phases where that, kind of the crossover where I was still a pastor and then doing the Beachbody coach thing, God just kind of kept pushing me more and more into the sense of I want you to help people in a different way. I want you to help people in a different way. And I'm like, no, I'm a musician. No. And I kept pulling me in the other direction. And I surrendered, as well as the fact that my church said, Dan, I think your heart's in a different place. And it was good. We kind of called what it was, and that's how I ended up becoming a Beachbody coach. So that's sort of the behind the story with me. I'm married, got a wife, got 2 kids. Girls are, I've got a senior and a sophomore, which is insane. And yes, college costs are crazy, and not looking forward to that little shindig coming up this year. So anyway, I wanted to talk to you today a little bit. So Amber asked me to talk to you about being kind of identifying really who is your ideal client. Who do you want to work with? And here's the thing, and I think especially when we get started as coaches, we go, I'm just going to help everybody. Anybody, if you're breathing, if you even have a pulse, I'm going to help you no matter what. And it's going to be, and I'm going to keep helping you, even if you don't really want my help, right? So you'd be like, it's like, man, I'm just going to keep knocking on that door. No one's opening it, but I'm going to keep knocking on it because they maybe showed interest in one post. They liked one thing that I said way back when, so I'm just keep knocking on that same door. Anyway, and the thing is that I realized over the years, so I've been a coach about 4.5 years now, and I've seen that if we work with people that we want to work with, we tend to have energy more. We're energized by that versus drained by it. You ever sense that? Like when you really work with somebody that you click with, you're like, man, if I could literally clone, I've said this to several clients sometimes, and I go, if I could clone 10 of you, it would be amazing. I would love to have 10 of you as my client because you're such a joy to work with, and we get each other. It's and the fact that, and so you have to kind of figure out who that type of person is that you want to be working with on a regular basis, because here's the deal. The more you work with people who are outside of that sphere, and not to say that you can't help people that are outside of that, just clarifying this, but the more you do that, the less energy you're going to have for the people that you really want to work with. Okay. And trust me, guys, this whole business is truly an energy business. Okay. And relationships are built on energy. And again, you know it. When you click with somebody, there's energy that sort of kind of happens. I've just been reading, as a side note, I've been reading this book. I recommended it to actually Amber recommended it to me through a podcast, and they talked about the book, and then I recommended the book back to Amber in this whole process. But it's called The Energy Bus by a guy named John Gordon. It's Jon Gordon. And you can go look at theenergybus.com. Killer good book. Okay. Audible price for getting an Audible. If you already have an Audible membership, it's like $5. I paid the $5 rather than using my credit for it, because I'm like, this is worth it. So anyway, The Energy Bus, highly, highly recommend. Great stuff. Talks about energy, positive energy, and kind of frames also within a faith background too as well. So who your ideal client is going to be based on kind of the energy that you're getting off of that person and the energy you're giving to that person. Okay. So really, guys, here's, and studies show in marketing, when you are talking to everybody, you may have heard the statement before, but when you're talking to everyone, you're really talking to no one. And I think a lot of times we sort of like want to generalize. We're like, well, if I can reach the 75-year-old grandma as well as I can reach the 20-something, yeah, I want to have them all, like, I want to help everybody. And so you sort of try to dumb it down, and you don't really talk, well, I'm not going to talk about pregnancy because that's going to, the men won't listen if I talk about pregnancy stuff. Or, hey, if I talk more about like getting it like a really intense workout side of thing, well, that's going to people who are like maybe 70, 80 pounds overweight. They're not going to really, okay. So, but the deal is when you start watering it down and you making it kind of, there's a reason why that beige and vanilla are two bad things. It's like when things just sort of get like beige and nobody notices them, right? I just went through a neighborhood the other day, and literally every house was beige. So I'm like, hey, yeah, so I'm the 5th beige house on the street. You know what I mean? It's like you don't even recognize it. It's just because it doesn't stand out at all. And if you want to stand out, guys, in social media world, you're going to have to, if you're going to kind of create your niche, you have to stand out a little bit, okay, and be unique in your own way and start talking to people in ways that are going to be good. And here's a little hint, this is a little side note before we even get rolling on this stuff. If you on occasion don't tick 1 or 2 people off, you're probably not dialing in specific enough to your target. Just being real on that. If you're trying to please everybody and you never like state your opinion on something and never talk about how maybe there's a bad thing about fast food or whatever, and then like, well, they're being mean to people who are eating fast food. It's like, no, I'm not. You like, anyway. So that's a little bit of a side note. All right, I want to introduce you to a friend of mine, and this friend of mine is very specific, though she's imaginary. At the same time. So, and the reason why I want to introduce you to this person is because I think it's better to show you how I've done this and like start to learn my particular way of talking on social media, because I think the example speaks better than just talking about principles. Okay. And this is going to be a little bit different than for some of you because, okay, so the obvious, I'm a guy. Okay. Bing. Wow. Really? So that's number 1. And then number 2, I'm actually slightly older than this person that I'm going to be talking about. And I'll talk to you about why after, but I do want to introduce to you my friend, Amy. Okay. And actually, technically, that bottom left picture there, that is Amy. Her name's Amy. And it's funny because a lot of the people who fit my ideal client, there's a lot of Amy's in that world. For whatever reason, that age group, I don't know if there's any Amy's in this thing right now. Maybe you are like, dude, that's me. But so Amy is this person that I kind of have created, and so people talk about this. I don't love the use of this word because I always think of blue people, but they talk about the social media avatar, right? So I tend to not use that. I call it more ideal client versus the avatar. So let me introduce you a little bit about her. Okay, and this is going to be a list. I'm going to run down it pretty quick so you can get an idea. Amy, Female, age about 35 to 45. She might be even a little bit younger, maybe 30. I'm kind of adjusted that even since I created this. So I'd say probably even more like 30 through 45, right around that age. Tends to be a guy girl. Not super girly, not like massively into the bling, 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 bling thing kind of a deal. Not that she doesn't ever occasionally want to get dressed up and get fancy, but for the most part, she's not talking about her nail polish color and how it matches her iPhone case, right? That's not Amy. Tends to relate a little bit better to guys than women as a whole. She's married, she has 2 to 3 kids, late elementary through high school. Okay, so I've decided to not go after. So for some of you guys, this would be a little bit older, probably, because you're sort of the young mom world and not some of this. But yeah, this might be a little bit older for some of you. Driven, likes a challenge. These are very, very key things for me. I've worked with people, especially coaches, guys, and they haven't done this for 4.5 years. I don't want to have to try to get somebody to be driven, because it's really, really difficult. I want somebody who's already working their tail off and just wants to redefine their life and redefine their busyness. So they're still going to probably be a busy person. I'm still going to have to occasionally pull them back. But if I have to teach them drivenness and activity and getting their butt moving, probably not going to be a successful coach in the long run. And really what I'm trying to do here, guys, is not that I don't, again, want to help everybody, but when it relates to building a business here, I'm looking for potential prospects in my coaching world. And God tends to bring those people to me because that's what that's who I'm speaking to a lot on social media. Tends to be too busy, likes romantic comedies with a little bit of edge. Anybody Bridesmaids fans out there? Sorry, the dress scene is my absolute favorite scene in the entire planet. That when they're in the store getting the dresses on. Oh my gosh, so funny. Anyway, so I love that scene, and I think we relate on that world. Owns a Kindle, but doesn't tend to finish books. Anybody? Due to lack of time. Struggles with fashion because of a little bit on the money, would like to dress a little bit nicer, but struggles because they don't have the time, money on that. Wants to go on a yearly vacation with family, but again, struggles because money is sort of an issue. Needs some structure. Struggles with believing she can. So she's driven, but also struggles with, like, there's some self-belief issues. So she has drivenness, but yet there's a belief issue that needs to be, like, encouraged, and it needs to have a cheerleader behind her. What do we got? Somebody was chatting. Literally the end is describing me. There we go. Has a fitness bent already. And this is really key for me, guys. Maybe a former athlete in high school. And it's really funny. So this couple I met with just on Labor Day. I met with them. I met with them on Labor Day, Monday. And we met with them, and it was funny. We totally clicked. We're on the faith side of things. They're driven. They're excited. I started asking the gal, I'm like, so former athlete? Yep. It's like, I could almost every check mark. Like, I was like, man, I love these people. I could work with 15 of these, and I could probably almost every descriptor on this, like, hit everything. So which is really cool when those people do come along. But former athlete in high school, so I'm not going to have to, like, go the beginning. And again, not that I don't want to have people who are sitting on the couch, but I'd love to have people who have maybe had some fitness background that just need to get their mojo back. And that's kind of what I like to work with. Let's see. So this was a quote I got from a person. So I should have this in quotes. I love books like that that give you something to think about every day. So they maybe don't love to, like, read this giant, like, book, but short devotional side. Jesus Calling, if you guys know that book. Insecurity Detox, if you guys know that book. So good, shorter. Thought to think about that for the day. That's her. Stories can motivate her. So, like, I want to deliver a decent amount of transformation stories and things like that. So, I'm working on that better and better. She's mostly on Facebook, but she dabbles a little bit in Instagram and Pinterest because she's busy. So she doesn't, again, this is going to be slightly older than some of you guys. So maybe some of you are, like, more Instagrammy people, and that's great. She dabbles in it a little bit and has especially maybe follows her kids on, on Pinterest and things like that. That's what my wife does. So she's fits into that age range as well. Reads Oprah. If she's going to read a magazine, reads Oprah magazine, real simple. And I've also added to this Shape magazine. If you guys know Shape, huge. That's a big one. Which, by the way, when you start to get into Facebook ads and Facebook marketing, you want to know this stuff. Because in the long term, when you start targeting Oprah magazine, real simple, Shape, yes, very important things. Okay. Spiritual. Sorry, I'm crazy. I just make up voices and stuff. Spiritually, she goes to church, but not sure how it always fits into everything. She'd like a little bit more, has some questions. There's a former pastor, author that I love named Rob Bell. Would love his stuff because it's just like very freeing and opening, which is great. Loves coffee. Loves simple recipes, feed her family, motivational quotes at the right time. That's good stuff. Sorry, I'm going to just breeze by these. Oops, I think I have some of these already done. Yep. Sorry, I didn't delete that. Okay. Pain points. This is important, guys. So I would encourage you, as you're making your list on this kind of things, there's also not only the things she likes, but what does she struggle with? Because I go for a working parent, different than maybe some of you guys. There's a work-home balance. It's very difficult. So I had, even on my coach call, just the last one that I just did, I had a gal come out and talk about the balancing work, family, and coaching. That's going to be helpful for my coaches. They need that because that's the type of person that I'm going for, okay? You guys might be a little bit different. Some of you are more, if you're more the stay-at-home mom target of this, which is probably the case because you're on at this time of day, how do you balance the family's responsibilities in coaching? And how do you not feel like you're always cheating your kids? And that's where this sense of guilt comes, especially with working moms. Huge deal. They always feel like they're a failure at any given spot. And then you add coaching onto it, they feel like a failure there too, right? So you got work, they feel like a failure at work because they're not enough time there. Home, they're feeling trouble. Oh man, I wish I'd spend more time with Susie. Bam, oh man, coaching, I didn't do my tracker today. Oh, I feel, you know what I mean? So this sense of guilt all the time. So we have to help them process through that and like maybe set better, more realistic expectations. They have trouble being present. They have trouble with time management in order to get important things done. And I hate to say that pretty much probably describes about 99% of the population, but I thought I'd throw it in there. I mean, I think you have to be human in order, that's like signing up to be human is that one. Struggles with self-care a little bit because they want to take care of everybody else. Hasn't lost the baby weight. Wants to honor her spouse with her body, which I think could be a really cool thing. Kids are watching, and she's somewhat aware of that and wants to set a good example ultimately, and does struggle with some negative self-talk. Okay? So up top, you're dealing with concepts and principles and things that she's into, she likes, she has interest in. And then you create a list of pain points. And then from that point on, what ends up happening, I'm asking you the specific question. Now, who is your Amy? And you can name her whatever you want. You can name her Katniss if you wanted to. It would be amazing. Or Princess Leia, I don't know, whatever. You want to, we can call her whatever you want. But I think, again, sometimes the name actually does help, helps you to kind of focus in on who this person is. And if you do have certain, like a conglomeration of people that are sort of in that, that's like what I do with this Amy thing, is I got like a lot of Amy's in my life. I'm like, oh, I want to let's call her Amy. And so, but I want to go to this next question. So the questions to ask are like, so you've got likes, attitudes, beliefs. And I think that's important to not just go just what they like or attitudes, but sometimes to get down to that belief level. Because that belief level, man, if you can start to talk to the psychology and spiritual level of some things sometimes where they're at, oh man, it's so helpful. Especially if you're going to be a guide to them now, and particularly in my role, because I can't be their buddy. And I can't, like, that's just not my role. I'm going to be more like a brother, big brother, or an uncle kind of level is sort of where I'm at. Or maybe a teacher, like a teacher that they liked in high school or whatever, something like that. That's me. But in order to talk to them, I'm going to need to know like what their belief system. So in order to speak into that. Now, demographics are important. So like that's all the things that we talked about before. The specifics when it, that you can quantifiable. But like I think the deeper level are some of those more emotional attitudes and beliefs, that's going to be fuel for your social media. And then of course pain points. So, and this is so big, guys, and this is pretty much where I'm going to land for most of this here are the rest. How do you then, based on all that stuff, structure your social media? Structure the way you do your challenges. Structure how you do your Coach Basics. Structure how you blog. Structure how you do video. Let me give you a very specific example. I've decided, even here's one thing I did. I actually created a Google form with survey. I created a survey. And guess what? I sent it out to all my Amy people. I sent it out. And I asked them things like, where do you tend to get your news? How do you start your day? What social media do you use the most? So I asked them some very specific, and I said, hey, would you do me a favor? Because you're like kind of a person that I like sort of look, you're the person I'm trying to help solve problems for. Would you answer a few questions? And it really, really helped me. And here's one thing it changed. Because I'm pretty good in front of a camera and on video. That's just the thing I like to do. I like to be, my pastoral experience, acting experience, being a teacher, I'm animated. That's kind of how I am. But here's the weirdo thing about it. What I found out that Amy, she doesn't like video all that much. And you want to know why? Because it takes too much time. Because she's scrolling through that feed. And that's why, I don't know if you guys have ever felt this. This is where that's weirdo spot when it comes to like Snapchat meets Facebook Live, right? So Snapchat, the thing that's fun about Snapchat is they're so short, you only got that 15 seconds or whatever, and then you're done, you can move on. But here's what happens. So Facebook's trying to meet that same Snapchat sort of world by doing Facebook Live. And what happens is you get people who go on for like 15 minutes. Dude, nobody's got 15 minutes, at least in my world, to be able to, and I've caught myself. I've done like full 9-minute videos on something I think is really important, but like people like check out. They're like done after 2. So for me, which is interesting to say, so if I'm going to make video, I've got to keep it around 2 minutes tops. And if I can't say it in 2 minutes, I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say it. They would rather read through a blog post that highlights it where they can go bling, 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 got it, done, go. I'm out of here. I got it. Got what I needed. I'm done. And more refer in that respect. So the way, not only what you say, but how you say it is going to be very, very important as it relates to your ideal client. So knowing what they want, knowing how, and a lot of times, honestly, guys, you guys are lucky when it comes to this, when it comes to the being like, so for me to try to talk to Amy is a little bit different because okay, longer story here, sorry, but I try to reach out to guys at my age, but here's a weirdo thing. I'm a 46-year-old guy. 46-year-old guys, if I try to just recruit 46-year-old guys, I'm toast. I'm done because they are career-minded. They might be burned out by their career, but they've got kids who are already heading into college. And they're not going to sacrifice right now and go, hey, well, maybe I'll risk the gamble and I'll be a Beachbody coach right now. And like, wait, I got to get my kids into college. I'm not going to. So this is not the time for me to go and reach out to those guys. Maybe in about 5-ish or so years when I'm in my 50s, I might start to really target those guys who are looking for some more meaning and back. So it might shift. And I think it can shift. I was watching, who was it? Who just got, I forget which coach. She just got pregnant. And she got married. So she's been through this phase. She started off as like a early party girl thing, got engaged, started talking that world, and now is pregnant. So her targets start to change, and she's starting to kind of change some of that, which is interesting. So social media, you want to specifically use social media and start to talk to your people using social media in, of course, ways that they're looking for it. That's what I mentioned about the video and things like that. Challenges. Let's talk about challenges for just a second. If you only use, okay, and Amber, this is not talking against the way you brand stuff, okay? Because you do pretty much, this is a boot camp, okay? And there's something cool consistent with that, so just so you all can hear this. But if you can help talk to pain points, guys, sometimes, and target, so if you talk to lose the baby weight challenge, or would be a specific one. Or you go, hey, the time crunch challenge, free challenge, 5-minute quick workouts that we're going to do. I don't know, whatever. You kind of create something that's going to talk to the pain points based on your challenges start to talk to your person's pain points. So let's go back here for 2 quick seconds. Where were we on pain points? Okay. Being present, right? She struggles with being present. That's why I'm doing a 3-week yoga retreat, free. I'm doing a 3-week free yoga retreat because I know my person struggles with being present. And I think that will help them be more present. Okay? A good example. Or, it's like where, kids are watching, you can then, even as you're inviting to stuff, you can actually take a picture of you and your kid. Go, hey, I'm setting the example for this this is one of the reasons why I'm doing this. I'm setting the example because I want to do this. And then you're talking right to your, for me specifically, that would be where we're doing. Okay. And then I have to find examples. You guys can use a little bit more from your own life in that, which is great. So challenges, that's that. Coach basics, how you drive stuff. Again, so what we decided to do is to do a little bit more text-driven stuff versus all video. You guys ever done Coach Basics? Have you ever done that? And those videos, man, they go on sometimes forever. Well, they'll post literally a full team call from some, like Lindsay Matway. Love her. But they'll do like a 50-minute team call. They'll post the whole call as you're training. I'm like, wait, you wanted to just talk about social media. We don't have to do it for like 55 minutes. Let's give me 10, or whatever, or shorten it or whatever. And what we're doing, so I'm trying to really communicate better so that our Coach Basics does that and structured a little bit shorter. So they're busy, man. We want to equip them with stuff that's going to meet them with their lifestyle. And potentially also what we're looking at is the idea of podcast to transfer some of that while their drive time. They can make use of their drive time and not have to do everything on video. It's like, okay, and I got to get the YouTube thing. Oh, crap, I got a text. Now my YouTube video got interrupted. Now, whereas the podcast just kind of keeps going, which is an option we're potentially looking at. And, of course, how you blog as well, so when you're looking to that. Now, so for more resources on this, guys, I think it's really, really important to know, first of all, that I didn't create all of this by any means. Amy Porterfield, if you don't know her, you should. She's fantastic. And this actual episode is podcast episode 106. Are you attracting or repelling your ideal client? And it's cool because she actually gives you like a worksheet in there to kind of like work that out and figure out what you're looking for in your ideal client, which is cool. She deals with Jasmine Starr, who is a photographer. And if you haven't checked out jasminestar.com, her website's freaking amazing. In the way, but the way that she does and the way that she talks to her clients and gives a very specific example of a specific client, so you can hear another version of a person. Now, she actually tells it more of it in terms of a narrative. I do it more of a list. So she actually would be like, so Amy gets up in the morning and she scrambles and gets her coffee and she spills it because she missed it and she's trying to help her third grader get her homework done. That she actually tells it in sort of a narrative form, which is kind of a cool way of even thinking about it. So, but yeah, you can listen to that episode. All right, so that's pretty much about what I have. If anybody has questions, I would love to answer anything I could potentially offer help with. If there's specifics that you have, I won't be offended if you don't have any questions. Just so you know, it's all good. And if you want to either just unmute yourself and just say, hey, Dan, this is whoever, so-and-so, and I was struggling with this because I didn't know this, and I need a little bit of help with that. And it's okay if you don't have it. Okay, we have one question. Okay, one person helped. That's good. Okay. Oh, loved all the information. PowerPoint be available to you to back to. I can make it available. Amber, you probably didn't record. Did you record?
I did. Yep.
Oh, then there you go.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm recording.
Yep.
Dan, one question I had, by the way, thank you so much. It's so helpful to think about those specific things. I know that you work a lot with the working crowd.
Yeah.
And I'd love for you to share. I really appreciate hearing from that perspective, because we do have several moms who are trying to find that balance right now.
Right.
And so I loved how you talked about, making things shorter and more easily accessible and all that. Any other tips that you would have that you can think of right now that are helping those coaches to be successful?
Yeah, I've got a really specific one, and this is, I think, helpful. Want to remute yourself there, girl, real quick?
Yeah.
Yeah. Good. So specifically on this, so, okay, guys, so I talked to Amber about the way you guys do challenges, okay? And I took literally the model and I said, we're going to give this a shot. We're going to do it. So I took the whole idea of the big Facebook group and, and do it, checking in with the app, which works great. Works great with the health bet going on right now, which is awesome. And then the Facebook message strand. So we had those, again, the 3 areas and, explained it all and had this all said. Everybody's excited. What happened, guys, and this is my analysis in all of this, is that I think stay-at-home moms, the desire for community is a little bit higher than your working mom, because you're isolated to some degree all day with kids, right? And unless you're getting out and you're doing play groups or things like that or whatever, so you tend to be, so your desire to be in those groups is greater. And your participation is like, dude, this is my lifeline. Adult human contact, please. I mean, my wife was there. She was a stay-at-home mom. So that time was great. However, in that terms of translating to our working moms, stressed them out, man. They're like, oh my gosh, dude. Like, I worked and then noon I looked at my thing and there's 45 messages on the strand and I'm like, blah, and I can't keep up. And then you got this, okay, in the group, and then I got the app thing, and it's all these worlds trying, and then I'm like, and then on top of that, I'm just trying to keep track of my own fitness using the 21-day tracker. So I've got like 4 different sources that I'm trying to do all this stuff. So that started to really shift. So we're going to shift back, and I think what we're going to do is we're actually going to run further at the app. The app now seems to be improving enough with the levels and pinning the posts and all that stuff to do less of the Facebook group. So this Facebook message strand, don't get me wrong, I think that particular piece has revitalized our groups immensely. So Amber, I think that was one of the biggest thing for us, has been huge, because it made it feel more like real time, more like Snapchat, more like it's in real. But the Facebook group as that extra thing was it's just another place to check. And if you can just go Facebook message, tracker app with the group, that's where you have to check for your post. Bam, got it. I don't have to check 2 places. I know exactly what I'm looking for. Then I'm in good shape, and then they can post all their pictures and everything in there, and there's a pin post, which is great. So just some thoughts there on that. But so, but then as it relates to like the working mom, and is the question really more, and you can give me a thumbs up, is it like finding the balance? Like how, like what are ways to help them find the balance, or like what have we done to adjust? Is that like number 2?
Yeah, I would just say, I feel like I've seen a lot of working mom coaches get discouraged because it's too much, and then they can't find the balance. So they kind of quit, or they stop, going after it. So how do you get people to kind of see past that challenge?
Yeah. And so this is specifically too, if you have your why solid, you're going to be more apt to be able to push through and do the difficult stuff that is needed when it's time, or when there's questions of values, like what you should be doing. I would say working moms, for them, there has to be a degree of sacrifice. you have to something has to sacrifice, and that's just life in general, guys. There has to be some sacrifices. So you may not be able to be on the t-shirt pass out committee for your soccer thing, because even though you'd love to do that for your kid, but you probably just can't. That's something you can't do. Or you can't take on that home renovation. Yep, sacrifice some sleep on occasion. You may have to sacrifice the idea of, I don't know, just some extra opportunities that you may want to be involved in, but it's just like I can't do everything. So I have to sometimes say no, which is tough because I think sometimes moms want to be super mom. Really, they do. They want to be able to do it all. And the thing is, especially if your vision is set where you maybe are working, because a lot of my working moms, they're actually wanting to not be working moms. So that creates a different kind of value. Now I've got one that's really interesting. So I got one gal who's one of my diamonds, and she's been up and down diamond. She's been pretty consistent on that. But the thing is, she works at a place where they ultimately, she doesn't want to stop working, and it's for one reason. It's because they're going to pay for her kids' college education. So she works at Notre Dame, so they help pay for college education. So her incentive to really make Beachbody work isn't as much, because she knows it's going to be at least another 7 years where she's going to be at be at Notre Dame working in order to get her kids through college. So, and I've seen the level of commitment based on that, and so she scatters herself all over and sometimes like that. And I'm like, oh, you're killing me. So, but yeah, so making some sacrifices is really important. And then I think also just really trying to help them schedule in those power pockets. You guys have probably heard some of that, talking about when you're trying to start doing a full-out power hour, just isn't realistic with a working mom. It's just not. You can't go, wait a minute, kids and job and everything, we're putting you all on hold for an entire hour right now. And it's like, it just doesn't happen, man. You got to be like 15-minute spot here while you're waiting to pick up somebody, 10-minute spot here. You just got to find the ability. And that's why it's really critical to have some form of a tracker, which I think you guys have, to track what you're doing on a regular basis. And, even some of the things that I thought about when it relates to the whole tracking side of things, when you're tracking like your invites and all that kind of stuff, it's kind of a pain sometimes to go, okay, now I got to am I going to carry this tracker around with me? Now I'm going to get it on the Google Doc, and I got to, you know what I mean? Like, because I know we do it. So I'm trying to figure out because the tracker app's perfect. Think about it. Like, how easy is it to go bling and you get that little thing and it types up. So if we could almost like the 21-day tracker, which is actually kind of funny. So this is an idea that I had. I actually wanted to play around with I have a thing called Fit 5. And technically there's 6 colored containers. So I'd have to make the 6th one something else. I was actually thinking about using the 21-day tracker to actually track our business behaviors. So it's actually going that red is protein. That means your invites. That's like the one we're going to do. Your invites are all set. That's really important. Purple is fun and awesome. So that's maybe reaching out to new people, or whatever. I don't know. So that color code your things, and then almost like you're tracking. I don't know. I just kind of thinking out of the box there. It'd be neat to have something like that. It's like if you could actually almost make it part of the thing to some of our leadership about that. Like, what behaviors, almost in the way we track the containers. So, anything else, people? So, yes, power pockets. That's me. We're Google green sleep. Yep, here.
Oh, that's awesome. That's really it's really helpful to have a different perspective than we're used to. So, thank you.
Good, no problem.
Can I ask you one other question?
Awesome. Sure, go
ahead. One other thing, because you're, I know you'd have something to say about this. Husbands. I know we have a bunch of coaches whose husbands are not yet on board. What advice do you have for that?
Smack them, one, and then after you're done smacking, just kidding. Don't do that. That tends to not work so well. But as it relates to, I guess, and you probably heard some of the top coaches talk about this. there's two main issues. One thing is that there is a sacrifice of time, and then there's also a sacrifice of presence, right? So there's a time, straight up time doing something. They go to a Super Saturday, they doing their workout, they're connecting with people, do all this stuff. Or there's, hey, we're at the whatever restaurant and checking in. Okay, wait, okay, honey, yeah, what? You know what I mean? So you're typing in. The more you can set, as you know, again, we have to do our best on this, but setting some form of business hours and having what I always talk about as the talk. You got to have the talk. If you don't have the talk with your spouse on this, and here's the thing that I would ask you guys to consider is that make it a, so a lot of women particularly don't like to kind of sort of set that, and I'm not, please don't hear this the wrong way, but setting the boundary that creates a potential, a little bit of relational tension. So setting boundaries, guys, is ultimately going to set up some tension. So if you set up a boundary that says, look, honey, this is very important to me, and here's the reasons why. I think it encourages me to stay healthier and fit. I have an environment of supportive people. I love the fact that we can potentially make some money in this over the longer term. I love the fact that I get a chance to encourage other people who are on a similar journey. And you can just list the whole name, all the list of the reasons why. And then I need from you in the evenings a half hour, because I'm going to do my other half hour in the morning and a little bit in the afternoon things. But I need in the evening, I'm going to need about a half hour from you, about three times a week. That's what I'm going to need from you. And I'm going to need you to help me watch the kids. I'm going to help you need, and I'm going to need you on top of this. Here's the big ask. I'm going to need you not to be upset or nag me about actually using my phone or my computer at this time. I need you to help me respect that as a business person, that time is respected, and that I'm not feeling like, because honestly, I know some of my coaches that's been like, you're always on that phone. Like you're always on, blah, blah, blah. You know, like that's sort of what happens, right? Support using phone and computer is tough. Yep, always on it. Absolutely. And so I think, so if you could, and that's the thing I would say to you, Megan, is that you may want to check truly, if you are, then you probably shouldn't be. Yeah, probably shouldn't be. If you're always on it, it is, and you don't have any boundaries when you're saying that to some degree, these are business hours. And again, we all cheated a little bit, but if you're massively cheating, where you're like, the store is open, it's like Walmart all the time, like 24 hours open, and you can get you whenever they want, I would say probably one is that you're probably not effectively running your business, because then you're not doing sometimes the important behaviors, and you're just being distracted by whatever person kind of comes. It's like, man, here's the thing, just so you know, Amber does a great job of this. I texted her several times when our earlier thing, and I had no response for like 8 hours. And I'm like, oh, you're killing me, Amber. But she was like, she was doing her thing, man. She was, kind of sequestered, isolating, and turning some things off. Or maybe she was just totally ignoring me. But yeah, so I would say, having the talk, guys, is really, really critical. And then setting those business hours, if you can do those for your husband or your boyfriend, however, that's going to make a big, big difference for them. And if you come at it from the professional standpoint, you're going to get so much more respect versus like, I just was, I want to do this as a professional, and it means a lot to me. And if you can come that heart to heart, why it means a lot to you, it's not just like that Beachbody thing. Oh, it's just so annoying, the Beachbody thing. It's like, no, come on, this is a viable thing that means a lot to me. And this is the amount of time I'm asking. I'm only asking, a half hour, 3 times a week. And again, you got to set up whatever you want. If you can ask for a little bit more, then that's fine. But, hopefully you can get done a lot of your stuff during the day. We'd say my working hours when he is at home. Yep, daughter. So yep. That way, very good. Good stuff, Megan. That's good.
That's helpful. Thank you.
Good.
Thank you. Anybody else have any questions before we let Dan go?
I feel like I'm going to get cut. Someone's going to cut me with their knife. There she is. Hi. Very good.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it again.
Hey, thanks, guys.
Thank you. Guys, I'll have this recorded and share it to our group. So you'll see it soon. Bye. Thank you.
All right. Take care.